I'd like to make a case for Horace being the greatest platform game of all time. Many may call me bombastic, some may tell me I'm a fool, but I say shut your cake hole because Horace is a 2D platform masterpiece. I've never played anything like this game. It's packed full of so many British pop culture references, it's unbelievable. You got characters that look like Uncle Albert from Only Fools and Horses. You got the cast of Our Vidas Ain't Pet that help you build bricks in a mini-based rhythm game. You got nods to Monty Python, Steptoe and Son, Grange Hill, Mr. Bronson, Little Danny Kendall, Doctor Who, and many, many more. Basically, you play Horace, a naive computer game-loving robot who after a terrible war has to find his adopted family, in a game packed with humour and some insanely hard platform gameplay. Yes, you get to run, jump, even climb up walls using special gravity boots that allow you to solve levels in unique ways. As well as all that, you got time travel, prison breaks, giant boss robots, and much, much, much more. As Horace goes on an incredible adventure, learning more about the human race as he makes his way in this brilliant world full of nods to TV's greatest 80s characters. Even one character is called Anton Deck, and for ages I didn't realise it was a reference to ITV's double act, Anton Deck. As well as in-jokes and nods to popular culture, this game pays homage to the classic arcade games of the past. I mean, at one point you can find an arcade which allows you to play versions of classic arcade games like Space Invaders. Except instead of Space Invaders, you're attacked by line dancers. It also has games very similar to Outrun, where you drive around in a red sports car, and those 1990 gymnastics sports games where you have to just bash a button to run faster. I soon found myself playing a game within a game as I became obsessed with getting a high score on games which mirror Pac-Man and Space Invaders. As well as all that, you can get jobs building bricks with a cast of Our Vidas Ain't Pet or catching and washing plates in a cafe. All these games are based on those classic rhythm dance games where you got to push the button at the right time. And it becomes hugely addictive trying to get a high score. But eventually it's back to the game itself. As you go from factories with security cameras, prisons with guards and traps and electric beams to sewers with rising water. Even going back in time to ancient Egypt or being chased by prehistoric cavemen with spears, as you make your way around collecting 1 million pieces of junk. And this becomes a side quest, and this junk can be sold to characters in a scrapyard who have a striking resemblance to TV's show Steptoe and Son. But that may be a bit before your time. Some of these levels are absolutely fantastic. At one point you go into your own mind, which is full of music and levels which resemble a cross between Sonic the Hedgehog and Super Mario, complete with psychedelic music. There's no doubt this game takes inspiration from classic platform games like Sonic and DuckTales and Mario and many more. In fact, it makes no apology for doing so. One personal highlight for me was when I found myself playing through levels that were based on old ZX Spectrum games, complete with basic graphics, 5 colours. All 3 levels were loosely based on 3 classic Spectrum games, complete with the terrible loading lines. This was a retro man's wet dream, and a chance for me to relive my youth for the briefest of times. Horace as a game is wonderful, with the robot making his way through brilliantly designed levels with laser beams, man traps, giant blades, you name it, this game has it. At one point I was even eaten by a giant plant. And it won't be long before you get crushed, electrocuted or disintegrated too, as what starts out as a tame platform experience soon takes you on a hardcore journey of 2D platform genius. I mean, this game has more than you could possibly imagine. At one point I was trying to get across a TV studio and I ended up falling to my death, but to my surprise I landed right in the middle of a Monty Python animated sketch and was soon crushed by a giant car. In another studio I landed right in the middle of an interview between David Frost and former President Richard Nixon. They both pulled out guns and shot me. It was truly wonderful and bizarre. Yet despite all the nods to classic TV shows and films and classic arcade games and madness, it all works totally brilliantly together. I couldn't wait to see what would happen next. One minute you're saving a girl, the next you're travelling in time or trapped in your own mind, getting bigger and smaller like Alice in Wonderland, as you carry on trying to overcome fantastic levels, deadly traps, all with the help of members of your adopted and dysfunctional family. You certainly go on an incredible adventure. At one point you even kill a man, but apart from that there isn't much need for combat in this game. You tend to just sneak past or jump over trouble. However, at times you'll have to take on some immense boss battles. like against a giant robot. And it's here the game becomes a bit like Super Mario, with you throwing objects, jumping on a button to turn on a laser beam, or just running and dodging attack patterns. But these battles are not only hard and challenging, but also quite brilliant. It's like just as you think you've seen it all, a giant robot tries to crush you. As well as the brilliant levels and Mission Impossible style laser beams and traps and the music and the side games and the nods to popular culture of the past and the way the game pays homage to the classic games of the past, I was blown away by Horace. It's everything you want in a 2D platform game, and much, 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 much more. I mean, there's nothing worse than a game that's good but too short. But you won't have that problem with Horace. This game is more than value for money. It's quite remarkable how much the game has in it. At the start it seems quite basic and slow going, but once you get into this game it becomes a tour de force of brilliant 2D platform levels, classic characters and fun. It's one of those games you can't wait to see the next level. And with the ability to run up walls and across ceilings, this game allows you to solve levels by thinking outside of the box. But be careful, I was once hanging upside down from a platform, and when I jumped off I ended up falling towards the sky and off the planet. I was literally floating in space. But it's that kind of genius that makes this game so great. And Horace himself comes across as a naive hero learning valuable life lessons. All this combined with comedy characters, classic games and jokes makes this one of the most enjoyable and brilliant indie games ever made. I'd give Horace 93 out of 100. And if you like retro gaming and nostalgia and hardcore 2D platform genius and boss battles and collecting junk, killer traps and heartwarming comedy stories and adventure, then this is the game for you.